Stories and our journeys captured all throughout our lives. Quiero comprender más con NHI.
Hello, everyone. Those who are tuning in, my name is Bella. I am the director for this year's Texas Great Debate. I'm super excited. The conversation today is mostly about building opportunities for new members to join NHI. Today, I have two former head coaches of their own regions, Isa Matamoros from Austin and Sam Molloy from Houston. Isa, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, and then Sam, you can introduce yourself after.
Hi, everyone. My name is Isa. I'm currently a freshman at the University of Georgia. I'm studying international affairs with a minor in Portuguese and potentially environmental economics. That's kind of in the works. I'm also in the Moorhead Honors College, so if you ever want to reach out to somebody about UGA, hit me up. I got involved with NHI as a freshman. I first learned about the Great Debate through an email that my school was sending out. They used to send out enrichment emails talking about different out-of-school opportunities. And I saw NHI on there and I was like, this sounds pretty cool. And so I signed up, convinced my parents to let me go. And I did the Great Debate, loved it. And as soon as I finished the Great Debate, I was like, wait, I have to come back. I have to keep staffing, especially just because we had an amazing team of staff. And so I did that. And that's how I got involved with the team and how I eventually became head coach. And I also completed the LDZ and CWS. And now I'm here.
I'll take it now. Hello, everyone. My name is Samuel Molloy. I go to Baylor University. I'm a freshman, and I'm planning on triple majoring. I'm gonna be doing pro sales, which is like economic development, accounting, and also marketing. I got recruited into NHI. It was kind of a mix of my parents had already kind of a little bit known about the program, but I also had a recruiter at my school who reached out to me, connected with me in a club meeting, and I was able to really connect. And he really kind of made a program sound okay. Maybe this is something that I want to do. Maybe I'm not sure how this will affect me. I don't know what the effects will be, but let me take a chance and see how this will kind of go. And it went really well. I kind of fell in love with the program. I've came back every single year as a volunteer. I've been involved on the regional level, and then most recently with recruitment, like Isai attended both LDC and CWS. And since then, I've become a recruitment head for basically Houston, getting involved not only on a recruitment level, but also on a structural level, curriculum, helping with the day-by-day meetings. So just excited to be here and to help out, talk about recruitment and creating a community in general.
Thank you guys so much for being on. I think one of the greatest parts of my job is that I get to work with a bunch of aspiring leaders who are your age. And I think that just from working with you both, Sam as an assistant tournament director for a couple of great debates now, Isa, you and I have worked locally here in Austin. I've seen you both develop a lot of staff, but most importantly, I've seen you take a lot of initiative with creating the opportunity at your community to grow NHI's presence. Isa, you're a great example of this at Lhasa High School. You know, there were maybe two or three of you your year, and this year, Lhasa is one of our tier one schools with over 10 representatives from the school. So I just wanted to know and use this as an opportunity for you to share maybe what motivated you to recruit in your area. So let's start with you this time, Sam.
When you get on off the bus for the great debate on your way back, everyone always has that little feeling in their stomach. Your adrenaline, everything's kind of coming together. You're kind of realizing, okay, this great moment of my life is kind of coming to an end. But that's where like a lot of people I feel need to twist their energy, change that. Because I feel that that's the beginning of most people's NHI journey, right when you get off the bus. The whole point of the great debate, I feel, is to kind of prepare you to get you ready for what's coming into your high school career and forward. And when you get off that bus, that's your first chance to feel that motivation to apply your knowledge, apply everything that all that passion that you've like gathered. And so when I got off that bus, my year, I only had 9 other kids in my grade debate for the Houston region. So we had kind of come together and we said, we really want to create a bigger team. We want to create a bigger community here in Houston. And it's harder said than done, I won't lie. You get off that bus, you have a lot of great ideas, a lot of passion, you're ready to go. But what motivated me best is I sat together with my friends, these people that I've known now for 3, 4 years, and we established a plan, an idea, and a goal of what we wanted for our community. And when you get determined, when you want a goal, when you find something that you want to do, and you have people around you, which I promise you, all of you do, you are able to basically accomplish anything that you want to do. And it may be a little slower, it may come faster, and for me, it came pretty slow. I didn't pick up till maybe like a year and a half ago. But my motivation in general was how can I apply everything that I felt coming off that bus, and how can I make sure that every single person in my community is at least aware of this program, and that way I don't have people coming up to me and saying, "Wow," like, and it happens at college all the time and in high school. "Oh wow, I wish I would have known about that program. Oh, I wish X, Y, and Z." And so that's my secondary motivation, is to make sure that every single person in our community is knowledgeable of the opportunity, and that they can take full advantage, because NHI is just such a great leadership program that is not just about debate, it's not just about politics or whatever you think this program is. It really is a program that is going to challenge you to question your why and what you kind of want to do going forward in the future. And I think that is really the driving factor of why I wanted to recruit. Was it's also, I'm exploring my journey. What is my why? And how can I also help other people feel the same passion I felt?
Yeah, that's kind of hard to follow, I'm not gonna lie, but I can talk a little bit more about the specifics of how I got involved with recruitment at my school specifically, because at least in Austin, we're in multiple school districts, we're in private schools, so we're kind of scattered a little bit of everywhere, but LASA is a magnet school in Austin, and so there's a lot of motivated kids who want to get involved with summer programs like NHI, and so I really wanted to make sure that we got the word out about the program, like Sam said. And so one of the first things I did was start communicating with the people that could help me get the word out. And I know it can be a little bit scary to reach out to your principal or to your college counselors, but honestly, it's their job to help provide those opportunities for their students. They're going to want the best for their students, and they're going to want them to get involved outside of school as well. It's important to take the chance, because you're going to regret not taking the chance and maybe missing out on the opportunity to recruit. And that's what we did. And so I reached out to the college counselors at LASA and made sure that they were putting announcements about NHI in their enrichment emails, like the one that I saw. We worked with the principal and the librarian to organize, they call them like lunch lectures, and so basically they have different speakers come to our lunch sometimes in the library, and so we hosted a couple of information sessions during lunch to help inform students about that. We also work with certain teachers to host those information sessions, but I'd say one of the biggest things, besides, not being afraid to take the chance to reach out to those school officials, is also just persistence. It can be very hard to recruit. Like, I have been through that in my first time recruiting. We did not get that many kids from my school, but what's important is that you don't give up and that you keep following up with the leads that you do have, because in the end you could end up with more than you thought. So for example, last year we were able to recruit maybe one or two people from the information sessions, but then we kept following up with them and we were like, "Hey, do you have any friends that could do it?" And so they helped convince their friends, and I was following up with their friends as well, and it was like kind of like a multi-pronged strategy to try to get their friends to join, and then they ended up doing it. And the biggest thing is just persistence, because at some point, like, you're gonna be able to help recruit those people. But the important part is just not to give up. And even if it takes a couple of years, it's okay. Like, it's a very valuable learning experience.
Thank you both. I did have a question about what you believe is a reason that maybe NHI relies on high school student volunteers to identify the next generation of NHIers. And I know that's kind of a bigger question, but what would you say is that reason? And either of you could answer.
Okay. I can start. One of the biggest things about recruitment is, seeing potential in people and being like, yes, I think this person would do really well in NHI, and, helping them get to the level of signing up for the program and hopefully doing well in the program. And I think part of the reason why there's such a big emphasis, one, on high schoolers doing the recruitment, is because the high schoolers are seeing their own peers in school. They're seeing them on the soccer team or in the clubs or in their classes. And so they're interacting with the peers that they're trying to recruit. And I mean, if you're asking specifically like why high schoolers and not college students, for example, they touch a little bit about this in Third Reality, where high schoolers are, that's really when you start thinking about, what do I want to do with my life? You're really starting to gain certain skills and you're starting to kind of build your persona, and it's a very moldable time. And that's why it's important to talk to high schoolers and help them be conscious of their community, and start motivating them to become leaders, because that foundation that you create in high school is going to last them a lifetime. But going back to the part about seeing potential in people, I have a specific example of this. There was a girl in my school and we were in soccer together, and she asked me a little bit about LDZ, and she's like, I'm not sure if I should do it. It seems interesting. And I was like, yes, you should do LDZ. It's going to be so much fun. And I actually was able to staff the LDZ, and I'm so glad that I was able to help her sign up for it and end up going there, because she ended up being Speaker of the House. So that was a really great experience. And I think she learned a lot. And so I'm really happy with the outcome of that. So that's the biggest thing. Just look for the people in your community that have that potential. And I feel like if you believe in them, that's going to take them very far.
Feel like something really similar. When you're a high schooler, like Isa said, it's very multiple time. It's when you're still finding out what your path is, exactly what you want to do. And so I think the reason we not only rely on high school volunteers, it's an organic kind of relationship, right? And we learn as volunteers as much as the participants learning. And so part of the reason it's interacting is, one, we want to make sure that we're surrounded with people who are, okay, I'm not just doing this program because I'm paid. I'm not just doing this program because I want hours. These are people who want to dedicate their time, who want to learn, who want to be guided, who are trying to go through the same program as you. And so I think NHI's reliance on high school volunteers is what kind of distinguishes itself from other programs. You don't see people from mission trips or other kind of programs coming down and there's a senior there advocating for it. A lot of time company representatives or representatives of these programs come down, but when you're high school led, especially for a recruiter, you can create a bond. And so it allows you to build a community at your school. It allows you to build a little bit, start your little NHI click right there at your school, and that's when it kind of starts building exactly what NHI is all about. It's about building a community where we can push everyone, like create such a supportive group that everyone is pushing each other, is always trying to support each other, where everyone's always looking for more solutions while also trying to provide the best for everyone else. So I think that's part of at least my what I see from that question.
I love that. And part of the reason I believe NHI relies on their high school volunteers is because we see all of our volunteers as investors in the future of our community. And a lot of times, especially our high school students, I know you guys probably had to face some of these questions as juniors and seniors, is who is going to invest in my future education when I'm going to college? And you both probably went to NHIers for letters of recommendation, advice, guidance. And so building that opportunity to start that relationship as early as your freshman year is super important, because when you're starting to make those decisions, you now have a network of friendships who will join you in that discovery, right? You're not just secluded to maybe your school or maybe soccer club, or this is a community that is international, it is global. And in this period of community equity building, where all of the answers come from within the community social utility code, for those of you who are listening, right? We want you to be the first people to decide who is going to get access to all of the benefits that we've been talking about, right? This backdrop for self-analysis. Sam, you were talking about this earlier, the ability to endorse yourself as somebody who can go to a university. Isa, I know that you're the biggest example of somebody who is going to email anybody who can open a door for you. Sam, you're the same way. That persistence and not taking no for an answer, those are the qualities and skills that you learn through NHI. And so, of course, we want the decision on who gets to participate to be in the hands of our high school volunteers. And I just wanted to put that out there because as we're recruiting in this new year, that's something that I'm noticing a lot from our freshmen is that they're very eager to pay it forward and continue to invest in the next generation. So I wanted to include that as part of our segment. What would you say, and I want to shift gears a little bit here. What would you say are the biggest challenges in recruitment and how did you overcome it? That could go to either one of you.
Okay, that's hard because I think there's a lot of things that can kind of go on in recruitment, and I think the hardest one is your first no, just a straight up no, I don't want to do that. Is I think the hardest thing is that first time you find someone who said this person can really benefit from our program. Or this person, wow, they would be they have so much potential. You think you prepare your pitch, you go up to them, and then they said no. Not even like I'll consider, oh, maybe let me talk to my parents. They'll just say no, and it happens. And so I think the first thing is I would rather a no than to have never asked or be too scared to kind of have tried because I promise you, you'll probably get more no's than yes, but that first yes it's gonna feel like everything's coming together. You're gonna feel like you've solved kind of your whole world issue, right? But once you get that yes, I promise everything will come together. And I think the second hardest thing is once you get someone to say yes, is chasing them down and doing the application. Um, I know so many people who are like, oh, I have them recruit, oh my family member X, Y, and Z, and then 2 weeks later, and they're like, well, they told me they're gonna apply tomorrow, and then they told me to apply tomorrow. And I think the easiest way to do it is one, either sit down with them and do it. Say, you know what, hey, this is a long thing. This is hard. Let me help you fill it out. Or two, you kind of just have to you just have to kind of follow them, kind of chase them down a little bit, give them an encouragement because you've pitched them on the program, you've done the hard part. Now it's sealing the job, is doing the sales part, which is the busy paperwork, the thing that no one wants to do. But you know what? Once they do it, and you're good. So I think those are definitely like the two hardest things at least that I've kind of faced. But they're things that you can easily get past. It takes a little bit of persistence.
Yeah, those are two very good ones. I definitely relate to the, oh, I'll apply, and then a week later they still haven't done it. But some other things I was also going to mention, one of the biggest issues that I've run into with recruiting, or I guess not issues, but I guess roadblocks, has been a lot of people say no or they have trouble signing up because of financial reasons. NHI can be hard to pay for, unfortunately, but what I suggest in those situations, one is I always tell people they can call the financial office, and that's what one of my recruits did this year actually to help set up a payment plan. You can also ask about scholarships. They're going to have the resources to help people find a plan that works for them. Another thing I would say to anyone who is running into this issue this year is definitely look at the website at the fundraising page because there is a whole list of ideas and things you can do to help fundraise either for your recruit or for yourself or for somebody else in your community. So definitely use those resources, the financial office and that fundraising page, because the way I kind of look at it is kind of like a team effort. And obviously, you don't want somebody not to be able to go to a program because of financial reasons. So, if you're able to convince enough people to invest in this recruit, that's going to be the ultimate goal. So, definitely don't give up. Definitely put in the effort to do that. Another roadblock that we've run into in the past is sometimes schools aren't as cooperative with hosting information sessions. There's one school where we had a lot of recruits from one year participate in the Great Debate, and then in following years, it was very difficult to set up meetings. And in that case, that's when you have to start being a little bit more creative with recruitment events, and that's okay. I remember one event that area of our region did one year was that they had a recruitment event at a coffee shop and they made vision boards. And so there's definitely other ways to get people to find out about NHI and spread the word that isn't necessarily through schools. So in both situations, it's like I said before, just don't give up. I know recruitment is very difficult, but it's definitely worth it once you finally do get that yes, like Sam said.
I love everything that you guys have been saying. And I think one thing that I've learned from both of you, and Sam, you mentioned this earlier, is that as volunteers and members of NHI, even though we might have, our times as participants might have expired, we still continue to learn with our young volunteers and participants, is that, it's really easy to think about recruitment as a very big, daunting experience because it feels big and it feels overwhelming. But truly, teamwork does make it happen. So, for example, maybe you're the only kid at your school, and maybe your mom saw how much you grew and how excited you are to get started as a volunteer. Maybe you haven't had a lot of success with talking to your principal, but maybe your mom can help you get that conversation going, or maybe you reach out to somebody like me who is an HQ representative who might be able to find a little more success in opening that door for you. So the one of the biggest things that I can give you as advice is to ask for support and ask for help. You know, we've had regions established for over 30 years. We've worked with 100,000 alumni and counting. And so the recruitment isn't always done one cookie cutter way. It's always done in creative ways, like the group that had the vision boards. I know in Houston, for example, for some of those students, we've hosted Zoom meetings so that they can talk directly to an NHI representative. And, we have a member, his name is Manuel Trevino. He recruited an entire group of kids by himself and started a new region, right? And that's now growing. So it's definitely possible. It starts with one person and eventually it'll evolve. Sam's region, he mentioned that there were 10 of them at the Great Debate. The same year, Isa's team in Austin was also 10, and now we have over 100 people represented in both of our regions. So it's definitely possible for growth to happen, and you don't always have to recruit in your own community. Sam has texted me a couple of times about some ninth graders he happens to know about in Arizona. Well, hey, that might be a region that we grow in the future, right? Isa, you've had a couple of connections outside of the state where you've done your best to recruit them, and some of them have done it and some of them haven't, and that's okay, right? So I guess the biggest advice that I have from you is to look inward. Who do I know? Who can support me? What can I do? Where do I see holes? How can I get support? And so again, the recruitment process is very simple when you give yourself plenty of time to plan ahead, and you also give yourself the opportunity to be vulnerable and ask for help when you need it. So, the last question I have for both of you is, what is your biggest piece of advice for anybody who is out there who wants to start the recruitment process? Or what was the biggest advice you received when you started your journey as a recruiter?
I think like Bella said, everyone has a different story, everyone has a different way to recruit, right? And it's not what I tell you right now, you're not gonna get off and be like, talk to the first person, it's gonna work right away. And so I think the first thing is setting your goal, setting your own goal. Understanding, okay, this is what I want. And then it's asking for help. Because you're not alone in what you do. I text Bella probably once a day about for updates or okay, did this person apply? How oh, I know you talked to this person. Because everyone in NHI, no matter where you are, is invested in your success. And so if you reach out for help, if you ask a question, if you ask someone at another school, I promise you they're going to get back to you and they're going to say, hey, this is how I can help. And so many people, and there's nothing wrong with trying to figure out things yourself, but what we're trying to build is a community. And so make sure to reach out, use your resources because you're encouraging the people you're recruiting to get involved in your community. And so you should be the prime example of that. And so once you've reached out, the biggest part is they may tell you something you don't like, or maybe something, oh, maybe that was not in my recruitment plan, or that's something I didn't think of. And so the best thing to do is to reflect on that plan and kind of adapt, right? Reflect, look, okay, this is how I can adapt, this is how I can plan to re-execute. And so by that time, you can now just go in and you can execute, right? It's just you're focusing on what's involved. There's no expectation. Your determination is what's gonna guide everything. And so as long as you can focus on your goal, your passion, everything along those lines, you'll be able to effectively execute. So it's like the NHI fundamental: reflect, adapt, and execute. And so as long as you reach out for help, as long as you have a set goal, I promise you'll be fine.
Okay, my biggest advice is definitely going to be don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone. I talked a little bit about this earlier when it came to reaching out to school officials, but it also applies to a lot of other things. I remember specifically my very first staff training. It might have been the first or second, but it was at the very beginning of the season. And we were doing this thing at the end of the training where they gave everybody a list of people to call, and we had a script and we were going to call the parents. We're going to be like, hey, you should get your kid to join NHI. And if they didn't answer, we had a script for the voicemail. And I just remember I was so nervous because I was not used to calling people. That was very nerve-wracking. But after I did it, it's like, okay, I did it. I got it over with. I learned from it. And I don't even remember how it ended up, but I just knew that after that moment, like I've already taken a step forward for myself and in my personal growth. So I think one way to approach recruitment is also not just I'm trying to build the community around me, it's also this is an experience that's going to help me grow as a person as well and as a leader. And so these experiences where you're reaching out to strangers, where you're talking with people you normally wouldn't talk to, like this is all going to be a really good learning experience. And it's going to be very helpful in the future when you do things outside of NHI, when you start reaching out to colleges and people who are future employers. So take this as a stepping stone for your future and don't be afraid to get out of your comfort zone, because even if things don't go the way you expect, you're going to learn from it and you're going to become a better leader because of it.
Well, thank you so much, Isa and Sam. I really appreciate everything that you guys have done for NHI, and I hope to see you continue to evolve your involvement with NHI as undergraduate students, maybe serving as senior counselors at the LDZ, or maybe you want to intern with us next summer. Whatever it is that you guys hope to do with NHI, please feel free to reach out. For those of you who are listening, who are hoping to learn more about recruitment or how to grow your region in general, feel free to email info@nhimail.com and we'll connect you to the person who is overseeing your region. I know that I talk to volunteers. I'm constantly on the phone. I'm constantly texting my volunteers because I know that it's not the easiest thing to approach when you're doing it by yourself. So make sure to create a team. I very much recommend that you practice your pitch. Maybe call one of your NHI besties. It doesn't matter if they're from a different region. Get the experience going so that by the time that you go up to that freshman or sophomore or junior for the very first time, you feel rehearsed and you feel ready to go to answer any and all questions. But again, thank you so much, Isa and Sam, and we look forward to more podcasts like this for volunteers and students who want to learn more about NHI.
This episode was brought to you by NHI's Director of the Texas 4-Day Great Debate, Isabella Sada Nieto, Isabella Matamoros, a first-year student at the University of Georgia from Austin, Texas, and Samuel Molloy, a first-year student at Baylor University from Houston, Texas. Our podcast art was created by Diego Garcia, and our podcast music was created by Zayden Worley. Thank you for listening.
Stories and our journeys captured all throughout our lives. Quiero comprender más con NHI.